Williams broadcast nze Williams nkwaniriza webale kunegataku ona businzidde sifuddeyo kasitoka ngo tutoka ku butereevu ene Williams broadcast. Of course we have another channel, Williams podcast. Tuze onakulaalira okwogera ku story a very simple but a hard one and a deep one. Nikona jaffe mwenna abali mu bitundu ebyenjawulo abali bisinzira mu ggwanga lya Uganda nga mutugoberera abali mu East Africa, African world over. Webale nnyo webale ddala waliwo yangamye nti bane William wafuuka muzungu lwaki otuwa oluzungu lungi nnyo olw'abawuliriza ab'enjawulo twekanga nga tugenze that way. Era channel eno bw'otunula mu biwandiiko byaffe tugamba tukola oluzungu ne tukola n'oluganda. Nkimanyi mu by'empuliziganya omuntu ajja kugamba lwaki otandikira mu luzungu n'omaliza oluganda, nange ebyo nnyinza okuba nga sibikiriza naye mulembe gukyuse nange sirina kyakukola. Bwemba n'abawuliriza nga nwanagana nabo abamu baluzungu oli nga ne mu Uganda n'agamba oluganda olumu lubeera lungi nnyo. That is a mass channel. That's how a mass channel can be. Naye leero William nziza okwogera ku ki? Nziza okwogera kuddamu okw'ekibuuzo His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu kye yaddiramu e Canada nga bamubuuzizza ekifaananyi kyasobola okusiiga ku Uganda empya. Agoberera Williams broadcast mteera nnyo okubakolera videos wano olumu zemutegeera ne zemutafaako, saagalagana zemutategeera. Jjukira nti kuno nyinako bakitange, nyinako basengange, nyinako bajjajjange, nyinako bakulu bange, bamonika, bannasolo. Olumu bwe mbanziramu ebintu ebimu nga njogera nammwe olw'okuba oba ondabira mu ddiiro TX ajja gamba omwana oyo nasemba okumanya nga nze mukulu we. Agambye ne sibitegeera kati olw'okwegendereza okwo ate nga nyinako n'abantu kati Kole Berarika nga Wantondo, Charles Musoke California nga Wantondo. But on a serious note, I'm here to give my opinion about a question by a journalist in Canada where Bobi Wine, the president of the National Unity Platform, and of course His Excellency himself, was asked to paint a picture of a new Uganda the National Unity Platform and People Power in particular are trying to project. Definitely, when it goes to public domain, there will be always debate and scrutiny. People will give their opinions, consciously biased or unconsciously biased. There are stories that I always see in the public domain and kind of turning a deaf ear. Me as a person, fearing to come out as a person responsible for the public relations of the National Unity Platform. People might see Williams commenting on a story like that one and be like, William Yandi Yogedechi. Because between me and you, some of us are already labeled or painted political parties. But boldly enough, I'll come out and tell you that I belong to the people power advocacy. Let us have a new Uganda. Let us see Uganda changing right from the stage of infrastructure to the moral decadence that is now rampant. Let us change a lot of stuff in our country, and my participation is by coming out to shed light where there is darkness when it comes to to infrastructure, cultural norms, getting down to the ditch and stuff. So I belong to the people power, and the people power has been here for ages, but when it comes to Uganda in particular, it has been resurrected by the Kyagulanyi era. Because Uganda has a constitution of 1995 where people belongs to the people. Chapter 1 of the constitution of Uganda. Here is Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu in Canada where he had gone to participate or attend a convention of the National Unity Platform. During a press conference, a white, I don't know from which country, from which continent, asks a question of kindly, His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, can you paint a picture of the new Uganda you're talking about? That's where I come now. So that story, ati munatusonyi bulungu tuteeka mu luzungu tulina betwagala bawulire. That story you need it has brought controversy. People are giving their mixed feelings, a little bit of stereotyping and theories of different calibers. After internalizing and analyzing and ingesting, I'm willing now to digest and extract out the opinion I have after all that. The question is like, I won't play the video, definitely, but I've just given you a background. It was simple. It was about, can you tell us how a new Uganda you're talking about, you and your national platform and people power, can you paint a picture of that Uganda, new Uganda? And Kyagulanyi answered the question in 2 phases. In the first phase, he gives you a preamble of the country you as a journalist might not have known about in a depth. You might have heard Uganda or read about Uganda through Google and Wikipedia or on websites. But the guy started by giving you a preamble. When you're reading, or book readers, you who are good at reading books or literature, normally there will be a preamble, there will be acknowledgements, okay, preface, preamble, preface, whichever way you want to put it. Then, after the preamble, the preface, you'll get to the gist, the substance, the main purpose of the headline you saw when you opened the book or when you procured or bought the book. Kyagulanyi is like, you know, for the people who have listened to Kyagulanyi right from the days of creative and performing arts he used to do as an artist, always will be humorous and sarcastic. He starts like, come on, this is Uganda, where we have the Great Lakes, where we have rivers, where we have good people, where we have artists practicing creative and performing arts and music, just like I am, me, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, where we have human beings. He's giving a preamble. He's giving a preamble. You know, normally, like I've always talked to my colleagues and friends, one of them is, for instance, Mimi. I've always told her that for me, some stories, when they are too big stories, I will turn a deaf ear and blind eyes until when I'm able to objectively articulate issues about the story. If I am not biased, if you're not biased, at least you would be able to tell her that Kyagulanyi's first phase of the answering was not giving a picture of the new Uganda. The guy was preambling, was prefacing the Uganda. The guy is like, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, where we have Great Lakes, where we have, that's what I heard. That is my opinion. It is what I heard. Let me put this across first before I can go any further. It is Williams Broadcast with me, Williams, giving my remarks and review plus opinion about the stories that is going around social media. And remember, every one of us is entitled to their own opinions. Remember, you who is watching me, people who are debating the story and how it was answered by Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, especially those coming with the negativity. They are ones who have positive criticism about how he answered the question, but there are those who are already biased consciously. There are those people who won't give you flowers. There are those people who always look through your communications and look for dents, and they will come and capitalize on that. Normally, I talk to people belonging to the national platform, and my emphasis has always been like, let us, or you guys should, so much focus on people who are supposed to do public relations for you guys. Don't just be like, it is self-explanatory, it's not rocket science. No. You're fighting to get the chair in Nakasero or in Tebe. And the thing is called politics. I understand it is a revolution, it is a struggle, but you cannot separate struggle and the revolutions from the real politics and how it is played across the globe. So my opinion and my analysis on why the people debating the story is that there are those giving objective debate about the answering Chabrani gave, and there are those biased. I can also add a group paid or employed or deployed to make sure that they always fold Chagulanyi. And it is acceptable in a game like politics Uganda has, especially as we are approaching the 2026 general election. Remember, it is not the first time Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu is facing criticism and backlash. In many cases, actually in most cases, Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu gets out of Uganda. People are always eager and critical when it comes to which questions are asked and how he answers questions. Let me also tell you guys, people always are fast to critique and fault people when things are to do with the foreign language, especially English from the Queensland, the King's Land. And you remember several times Chagulanyi Sentamu has been criticized, people will be like, it's not grasping the English, the question in which, the language in which questions are asked. Normally I tell people, okay, let us accept the fact that your opinion is like the guy did not grasp the English, there's too much English, the language questions are coming through. Is what Chagulanyi is talking about real? Does it exist? Is it the fact? Is it the reality on the ground in Uganda? Is it the status quo? That is a question to also answer. Okay. The first phase, like I've told you, is like introducing Uganda to the journalist. Later on, the guy started putting his points in regards to the new Uganda. And here comes the social media propagandists, analysts, and etc. They come, whoa, which is what day, chagala kukava, whoa, which is what day, chagala kukava, whoa, which is what day. And to me, by this time, I am sure Chagulanyi Sentamu is used to such and should always put on hard boots to maneuver through such criticism and debates, especially when they are coming from your enemies. Williams, did Chagulanyi answer to your satisfaction the question he was asked? First phase was okay for me. He gave a preamble. And in all what he had painted, I could give Chagulanyi a reasonable percentage. Even when I failed, if I failed, I was to fail to get what he said in his answers, I could also refer to how he answered the same questions on other platforms. Also, the point is not about faulting Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu on how he answered questions, because people will always be like, you listen to how he answers questions and you give him a nation or a state or a country to lead. Let me tell you guys, especially we, the guys who say we are, most of you guys claim to be bloggers, others will be like we have podcasts, others will be like they have communication rights, and it is a good thing. By the way, disclaimer is that I'm not stopping anyone from commenting on things about Chagulanyi or any political person. No, that's why I'm also coming with my opinion. But we, the communicators of different calibers or categories, we should always come with different angles of stories. Because for me, like today I've come, I listened to the clip several times and was like, the first clip where people are criticizing the guy so much, the guy is giving a preamble. I don't think Chagulanyi is so dumb or is dumb or has ever been dumb to an extent of not realize, understanding the question that was asked. To me, I listened to a guy who is like to a guy, temuntama, means of lwaki omuyita guy, nja kukuba omuntu omuggo, to a gentleman, to a husband, to baby, to a parent who is an artist. Is like, yo man, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, home of, it's introducing. Then reasonably, I can give a percentage of appreciation on how the guy answered the question. Let me tell you, it is always good and easy and not good. It is easier to criticize a person who has already given you a step forward. For example, if I'm coming back to where I was going to about whether failing to answer a question can determine the type of leader you will be tomorrow, or if given leadership, the chair, etc. I'll come back there. Let me tell you, it is easier to criticize with what is already in place. If it is the same question, or if the same question is given to us, the critics, analysts, to paint a picture about Uganda, especially in English, many of us would fail, not that we don't know the kind of Uganda we need or love to see, we envision, but because in some cases, the people listening to you as you're communicating in a foreign language, they also don't understand. It is difficult for them to understand you. It is a foreign language for you and the people listening to you. It calls for a person who is into depth of analysis to understand the bits. Like I told you, preamble, then the gist. It is easier, but if the same question is given, I understand there are some people who are good at communicating. That's the fact. And it has always been the people who know how to speak good English, elaborate and articulate stuff that have brought African countries backward. Those people are thoroughly fit when it comes to communicating in English in particular, are the same people we have seen putting, crippling, laming, sabotaging growth of African countries and Uganda in particular, those outspoken, those people who can communicate fluently in English. And the time I've seen Chabla communicate, is able to communicate in English. However much people want him to sound like an American and a person from Austria or Australia, they're two different, there is a continent and a country. People want to listen to Chabla communicating like an English human being, which cannot happen. If you're lucky enough and you can communicate like an American when you're not, good for you. But my point will always remain, okay, Kyagulanyi is not sounding an American, is not sounding an English or white or Polish or maybe. Is what the guy talking about relating with the status quo? If so, for me, it is well. The song is called It Is Well in my soul, it is well, in my soul. Yes, it is well with me. William, it's like you're doing damage control and public relations, you're kind of covering up for it, but there is no anything to cover. And this is William's broadcast. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I'm here to also project mine. Another thing I was tackling and put a stop on it was Kyagulanyi is not fit to lead. Actually, if you're in normal times and you're practicing real democracy averagely, because democracy can never be 100%. If you're in a country where you have at least a reasonable democracy and systems of governance, People are always just socketed in the system. The ecosystem definitely has units that will help the president to run. I understand. Sometimes they will kind of manipulate, go around systems and do their stuff, like one of the presidents. Since I'm communicating in English and I'm in the country, I want to mention that president is doing some stuff, but it's the system that helps leaders to lead well or badly. The only challenge we have in Uganda is that the constitution we already have emphasizes and makes the president the overall. That's why he's the one appointing Chief Justice. Of course, some people are vetted in Parliament, but again, the majority is in Parliament is political party NRM, but the issue of Chagulanyi cannot be president just because of how he answers questions, just because of his age, that's because he has been a music artist. Shouldn't be the case. For me, it should be what and his team are able to achieve, strategize, and achieve. I've always given you clear examples. One of them, the main one is General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. If you're a good reader and interpreter and if you have gotten a chance to read about his story, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and even the time he decided to struggle to oust or remove the regime of Bote II. If it was about stature and texture, you would prefer another person. I listened, and I've listened severally to Israel Mayengo, telling stories of how they failed to get a Muganda to lead that struggle. They had several meetings in Tanzania, Kenya, in Uganda, until all the professors of English failed, professors of those days politics, professors of psychology and humanity failed, and they were like, okay, if they are in too big a career, let us go with Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of UPM, Afro-NASA. It is always a gradual process and through metamorphosis that people grow into leaders. We have seen Robert Chagulanyi Ssentamu from Akagoma Kalubendera later on to a successful cemented music artist who later on went into revolutionary practices, freedom fighting arena, now a politician. Who is not a politician of the days we have known politics for, but who has a league, but again, the League of Advocacy for Freedom and Human Rights led him to getting a center number of the national unity platform. And remember, having a center number national unity platform drags you to the center of politics. So now I'm skeptical to say if Chagulanyi is a politician or not anymore, because the moment he got to a stage of having a political party, and now he's having a political party that is the biggest on the opposition, a lot is supposed to happen, and a lot has happened. National platform and people power has been able to register success stories. On the other hand, they have had challenges, of course. Have they had challenges and made mistakes along the way? Yes. That the mistakes they have made, errors, and the weaknesses they have had deny the fact that Uganda needs change? No. Can Chagulanyi make a good leader? Yes. How? If they put all the criticism in a molding machine for a better national platform, people power Chagulanyi, If people are criticizing you, like you cannot make them believe and understand the reality that you can do it. How can Chagulanyi be the president, and how can he make it if he surrounds himself with people who can help him grow as a leader? And of course, so far, he has done averagely. William, of all people, because those are the questions people have always asked. I've told you, in 1986, when the NRA took power, took over Kampala, Judge Museveni never left the Midandisi, the Nsibambizi, Samson Chisekas, and through those people who had been firm enough politically, the guy has grown into the Yoweri Kaguta Museveni every now and then. Most of the people be like, is the Pan-African state? And definitely you will not expect Kyagulanyi to know things Judge Yoweri Kaguta Museveni knows politically, to do with how public, international relations, because Judge Museveni has been the president for the last 40 years. So you cannot say Kyagulanyi cannot make it, comparing him to people who are already presidents, who have been presidents, who have been there for years, and one of them is Judge Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Let us look back from where Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu has come, what he has so far been able to achieve, and let us look forward. Let us not focus and don't depend on how he answers questions. I understand also answering questions determines the kind of a leader you can be. But to me, the sarcasm of he cannot. First listen who says it. Like I've told you, most of the people saying that he cannot make it are the opponents, or motor mouths of the opponents, or the deployments and the deployments of the opposition. So today, I don't know if you've been able to at least grasp, to get, to comprehend. I've comprehended people's debates and I've decided to come and also give my opinion. Of course, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu and the National Platform are facing, and ahead of them is a lot of stuff, criticism. For example, a while ago, I talked about how people should get ready for after 2026. People should not worry, should not be like, if it is not happening, if it hasn't happened 2026, about the mission, surrender. And that is not a struggle. Then you chose a wrong word for your thing. If you say, if we don't make it in 2026, I'm quitting, then the struggle word you chose was a wrong one for what you're running for. For example, if you're saying a struggle is forever, I understand with public relations, especially when you want to keep the enthusiasm of your followers. In most cases, you'll be like, I've always told you stories about revolutionaries and strategies made by countries when they wanted or still want to achieve certain things. And one of them, a story I've given you, is about how America planned, strategized on how to capture and kill Bin Laden. It took 10 years. What Bin Laden did it during, that was 2001. America had a different president. They achieved their goal of capturing and killing Bin Laden 10 years later when Obama was president. Judge Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, when you read books, listen to him, He had intentions and the vision of leading Uganda several years even before the general elections of 1980. He comes even during the commissions where they elected or selected the Minaisas, the Mulays, the Mwangas. The guy was there. Even in 1980, never stood for presidency. He went for a municipality constituency, for a constituency. Actually, he never won that election. Sam Kutesa came out a winner, imagine a winner. He's like, now I'm standing for Semogiri. You see a guy coming out, the leader of the struggle after 81, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The guy is the president now. I've also told people about thorough study, thorough research, thorough analysis about the human being, Tipo Havura Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the general of the UPDF, and Museveni, the concept, Museveni, the empire. They are two different things. There is the human being that can even die tomorrow, because just like I can die now or tomorrow, but the Musevenism will remain. That's why actually they also have a campaign of Musevenomics. They are not out of the blue. They planned for. So you need to understand this guy, how he has played his games until when now some people believe he's immortal. For me, sinyiga mimi amanyo gamba kati go William katinzi no busungu omuntu kati nze namugane tocha mukaloya wange mulungi Dr. Tonyiga nze Museveni ndi mu study nga somo era nze sobola mugerageranya nti kakati kamberageragere William Museveni wazeemu ebibuuzo William Kyagulanyi wazeemu ebibuuzo no. I am like, if Kyagulanyi can kuddamu bibuuzo like now, because Kyagulanyi is most arch point is about the status quo. That's why sometimes bamitaja kusobola na kukola bwe byagala kukulya. One time yajja n'ayogera about the physical policy. You know, governance and the terminologies around state, regimes, I don't know, state, a country, a nation, those terminologies. Like, for example, I might be conversant with terminologies of music or creative and performing arts. I might be articulate when it comes to the rhythm patterns, the quantize, the beat per minute, some brief. But when I reach the doctorate, the health care terminologies, I might fail because they have the chronoscopy, endoscopy, and I'm not able to pick some lines. Also, Kyagulanyi is like, we need change. Don't expect him all of a sudden be conversant with international relations, internal affairs, to do things to do with the GDP, gross domestic product, per capita income, the currency, inflation stuff. No, that's why the guy has interested himself in in furthering his education to a level of becoming a lawyer. It's like, let me do law. Saying you do law, but the thing is that Lubongo is already there. So the guys, Emitima Jaga, their spirits are willing. We should also give credit to that. Not that they don't make mistakes. I have emphasized that because some people who watch my show will be like, we watch Temuntama. So today, I'm telling you guys, Temuzirika, even if it doesn't happen tomorrow, doesn't mean that the struggle should die away. Also, you do not get discouraged when you see people watering down your president's communications. Nga bamugamba bw'atamanyi Luzungu ddala Kyagulanyi osobola muteeka mu bantu batasobola communicatinga mu Luzungu. Ekyokubiri, ebibuuzo tabizzeemu bulungi. Teyenkanyenkanye nga president w'egindi. It shouldn't be the problem. Also, like I've told you, Kyagulanyi should aim higher, pull up the socks. You can make it. The only way you cannot make it if you don't learn from the challenges, the weaknesses, and mistakes you have came across. For me, I believe he can make it. He can really make it. I told you in my last video that Kyagulanyi should and the team should get more ready for after 2026-31, even than they can get ready for 2016 elections. The main and the havoc, the intensive politics is planned. The politicians are planning for 26-31 because 26-31, you're not sure, you cannot predict the next arch enemy, opponent. Will he be General Salim Sali or General Muhoozi Kainerugaba? Many people are focusing on General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, but not forgetting that eventually, if General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni gets out of play, if you're a good politician, they might put General Salim Sali, who is already in the system, who is having, if you're to pie chart the share of who is responsible for governance and decision making in the Jaja Museveni's regime, the pie chart will show you that General Salim Sali is having a bigger share and Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is shrinking. Then you have the commanding, the Defense Force Commander, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. You also need to put all that in play, do analysis of, 2026, of course, there is A, B, C, D, but after 2026, there is the Democratic Alliance, the Resistance Party, definitely they will come. You know, during play football or soccer matches, we used to have people responsible for fouls. You call them fouls. Those are the peasants. But again, so don't concentrate so much on the discouragements you might get when your president is put down. Also be bold enough, like I saw up top. That is a good thing I saw about you, because me, William, as a podcast, I'll always be trying to be in the middle, but there are people who are doing direct work, like Mordecai Murisa, who is having even a beret on his head and up top. I saw up top telling people, cutting clips out of the communication or answering of Kyagulanyi and giving his opinion or explaining to his followers. So you also, who is a follower and a believer or a member, a registered member of the national platform, and a person who believes in people power, a person who believes Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is your president, use your energy, your muscles to also communicate a thing, to communicate your opinion, to communicate your bullet of how you feel things should be done. For example, if your president is to put it down and you keep quiet and be like, Pimukubye point, manja kusange wamwe Massachusetts, uwo mugu, nja kusange Bellerica, uwo mugu, nja kusange Watertown, nja kusange Waltham, nja kusange Marlborough, kusange Northborough, kusange Worcester, uwo mugu, yalono vinjibera kubiri Massachusetts, kusange Framingham, uwo mugu. Because already we know about technology. I've talked to some leaders, especially in the diaspora, that if you don't utilize platforms like technology and communication, you are doomed. You are doomed. Yes, I hope you guys have been able to pick points out of what I've communicated so far since the video started. It is Williams Broadcast with me, Williams. I'm saying goodbye.